See, there we go. This meeting is being recorded, just in case you didn't know. Right, so lovely to see you all, and I hope you've had a good weekend so far. I've certainly had an interesting week. Started off the week feeling exceptionally drained and washed out and exhausted, but by Friday I was my energy levels had kind of skyrocketed, and I've been quite active and quite busy this weekend, just doing all sorts of things that I've let slide because I haven't felt like doing them. So I'm excited that this energy is increasing, and I'm hoping that it's going to stay like this for a little while. But we are entering into quite an intense week as we lead up to the full moon lunar eclipse that is happening. And it's a big one because it is a full lunar eclipse, which only happens every 2.5 years, which I learned from Elizabeth Rose yesterday on her meditation. So I wasn't aware that it happened as regularly as every 2.5 years, but it does. So, and it's also what they are terming a supermoon. So it means that the moon is closer to the earth than it normally is. So it is going to be intense. But hopefully intense in a good way. So looking into the energies for this week, the best thing that we can do is surrender to what is coming in or coming at us from an energetic perspective. The energies are pretty fiery at the moment, and as a result, they can bring some kind of instability within us. So that instability can be an emotional instability, a physical instability. So balance again is really important this week as we move forward, and will be as we move closer and closer to this full moon. There is a positive to all of this fiery energy, and that is that clarity is going to be emerging as old energies, old emotions, and old patterns are surfacing from the unconscious. And as a result of that, we're being given the opportunity to heal and release long-standing patterns which have drained our energy and have kept us stuck. So that's a really important point to be aware of as we move into the week. Start to observe what is coming up for release and healing. Again, don't get stuck in it. Don't get too attached to it. Just observe it and allow it to move through your system and out. The energies are also very fast, and as a result, we will feel that intensity in us as a physical manifestation of the energies. And so you may find that you're able to move more quickly, and that the healings and releasings and clearings that are happening faster. Out of this, thankfully, will come some new levels of consciousness, so expanded states of awareness, expanded levels of consciousness, peace, which I was really happy to see, and a deeper acceptance of the journey that we're on. I recently got an email from someone who said she'd been on a healing journey for many, many years, and is feeling really disheartened by the fact that she keeps being faced with stuff over and over and over again. And her question to me was, does it ever end, and when? And I sadly had to tell her that it doesn't end, and the only point it is going to end is when we die. So we are on this journey of transformation, we are on this journey of healing, and we're on this journey of evolution. And the sooner we just accept that it is a journey, and it is not something that is going to stabilize anytime soon. It is going to be rocky at times, it is going to be challenging at times, it is going to be difficult to maintain our balance and our own stability, but those are the things that we need to focus on, particularly now. And my sense is that the next 4 months are going to be this intense. So at least we're being prepared. The insight that I'm getting is it's 4 months of this intensity, and then, you know, the waters will smooth and things will become a little bit calmer. And I suppose then we'll be able to integrate, well, we will go through a process of integrating what changes and what shifts have happened in us and in our lives as a result of the next 4 months. with the full moon eclipse coming up, we're being encouraged to really take action on the changes and transformations that we're being asked to make. So for some of us, those transformations will require a complete reroute of our lives and the direction that we're moving on. And for others, it's just a subtle or softer shift in direction. So it is important that we be observant and watch for the subtle promptings and the sudden inspirations and the sudden clarity that appears, because it can just literally be a light bulb moment and the next minute we're on a completely different path. So it is important that we're aware of that. And from what I'm seeing, it should be, these things should be pretty obvious, of course, unless we've got our heads buried in the sand and we're not wanting to look and see anything, which I don't suggest at all, because we're wanting to be able to get the clarity. We're wanting to be able to get the insights and the inspiration, because those are the things that are going to help us to know what steps we are needing to take as we move forward. So be really observant this week of what is emerging, what you're sensing, what you're feeling. Listen deeply to yourself, listen deeply to the things that come up in conversation as well, because often those things can be inspiring thoughts or ideas that you hadn't thought of or you hadn't seen before. There's also, on an internal level, there is some deep releasing of old karmic cycles and a restructuring of old karmic agreements. So this will encourage us to step out of the past and to start being able to think big and to see big and to dream big. Because we've, I don't know about you, but for many years, I've almost felt like my life has become smaller and smaller and narrower and narrower. And then, of course, with the pandemic hitting and lockdowns happening, that narrowing became a really small, tiny path. And we're being asked to expand. We're being asked to now step out of that space of smallness. And, for me, I've also, over the years, become a bit of a hermit. I know last week's webinar, we talked about, the things that we used to do in our old lives and that we no longer do. And as a result of a lot of those choices that we've made, our lives become smaller and our social circles become smaller. We spend less time engaging with the world and we spend less time engaging with people, but that needs to start to change. We are needing to step out into the world and to be part of the world, because our light, our energy, and our consciousness is really needed at this time. One of the things that I was reading or listening to, I can't remember which this week as well, is that as a result of this full moon eclipse, there are going to be some mass awakenings happening in the world, which is really exciting as well. So there are going to be more and more people waking up to what they need to see, observe, know, change, transform, whatever, or heal in themselves and in their lives. But also as a result of that, there will be some collective confusion, some collective fear and anxiety that will rise up in the collective consciousness. So we need to also be conscious of that over the next 4 months, because those of us that are particularly sensitive to the collective consciousness need to recognize that our energetic boundaries need to be strong, our emotional boundaries need to be strong, because it's incredibly important that we don't take on that anxiety and that fear that surfaces from some of the people that are waking up. And because of this mass awakening, that is also why we're more and more we're needed to be in the world, not sitting at home isolating, which for you in the Northern Hemisphere is fantastic because you're stepping into summer. For us in the Southern Hemisphere, we're stepping into winter. So not really that conducive to being outside and out in the world, although we've had a beautiful weekend. So perhaps it won't be too bad. Hava's just mentioned, I worked with an energy worker who taught me that if I had learned everything that I had contracted to learn, I'd be gone. Still here learning, yay. Exactly. The sooner we accept that, the better. Just seeing if there's anything else that I've left out from this. I think I've kind of covered it all. Has anyone got any questions on what I've just spoken about, or anything they'd like to share, or any insights they have? Hi, Megan.
Kate, I've just been finding, well, in the last couple of days in particular, when you start talking about the collective, I was speaking to an 18-year-old nephew of mine yesterday. And in South Africa, you know, we have the whole apartheid and the race thing, and I'm 18 years old, and one side of the family, the mother and her partner, are very much racist on that side, and the father's not much better on this side. And I gave him the insight that we're all human beings. Just left a seed there for him. And then he called me again this morning and said, can he come over for a chat? He wants to have that perspective. I'm not lecturing, I'm not pushing it. And then I had a conversation this afternoon with a friend who says, nothing's going to change in this world. The structures are going to be there. There's always going to be the haves and the have-nots, and the culture against the culture. And I found myself just saying, no, the structures will come down and it will change. What it'll look like, whether it'll be this generation or the next generation or the one after that. And it gave my friend almost like, really? Do you believe that? There's a little bit of hope? Because I was looking at this as all being utterly hopeless. But even from that perspective, where you say we need to go out there, not necessarily to get on the soapbox, which I'd love to do most of the time, but just share the positivity about this and a different way of looking at things as we see it. So yeah, what's happened just in the last few days definitely follows on with what you were saying. Just thought I'd share that.
Thanks, Megan. I also think if we think back to, you know, April last year when we started doing these Sunday sessions, you know, how many of us were afraid? We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was happening. And then just this coming together has enabled us to actually together find the hope, to find the faith, to find the understanding, to find the depth of meaning in the experiences that we're having. And I think we have a responsibility to share those. Obviously, I don't support standing on a soapbox, because you'll just get rotten tomatoes thrown at you. But, you know, for those that we have conversations with, you know, like your nephew and like your friend, I think it's important that we are able to offer that hope, and to offer maybe a different perspective, and maybe also point out the obvious. You know, the world is in crisis. I mean, it's in crisis because the structures are crumbling. The structures are no longer working. And so therefore things will have to change as a result of that. And, you know, we have the choice whether to collapse with those structures, or to rise up out of the ashes of them and to begin to create new ones. And it's up to us, every single individual. It's, you know, it's not going to be a government, and it's not going to be some savior who's going to swoop in on angel wings and sort things out for us. We have to do it. We are the ones that are building these structures brick by brick. And at the moment, what we're doing is building that foundation for those new structures within ourselves. And as we shift and change our own lives, so we place the bricks in the right places. So each one of us, and, you know, I'm not just talking about this group, but I'm talking about every single person on this planet has a part to play, whether that part is in the building of the new or the collapsing of the old. It depends on, you know, in which reality you're choosing to work within. I think certainly in this group, most of us are choosing to work in the new reality and letting other people do the breaking down of the old. And as a result of that, we have the opportunity to be able to say to other people, you know, it's going to be okay.
And they smile and they really, wow, give me that encouragement. And you suddenly realize that they are looking at the wood for the trees. They just can't see beyond that. So yeah, it was nice just to see that, wow, there's hope. Somebody believes.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I was gonna this morning. Hey everyone, I haven't been on in a while, but I've been listening to the recordings. Hope everyone's doing well. in my meditation this morning, that was my message as well, it was basically, it's time to be seen, was the words I heard, and to be seen in your light. And so I think, Megan, what you were talking about is, just on target, is that we just have to be sharing with people when the moment comes up, not anything other than sharing love and hope. And Kate, everything you said was beautiful. And I heard something last week that I want to share that I just thought was really beautiful. And it's part of what that's been happening in this group is someone said, you have contracts with people all over the world that you will never meet, but you've contracted with them on a soul level to share your light with them and your love so that they can rise out of whatever they're struggling with, because a lot of people are struggling. And I know I was listening to the recording from last week. You guys were saying a lot of those things. So I think that that's where we are. And this portal feels like that opportunity to do that. More and more people are waking up and trying to understand what is going on. And if we can just keep sharing our love and our light. And the other thing I heard this morning, I'll share, the other thing they said was, it's time to stand shoulder to shoulder in love. No matter what our differences are, no matter what, opinions we have, it's just time to stand shoulder to shoulder in love, because that's what's going to break down the old systems when we all stand together. So anyway, glad to be back, guys.
Thank you, Lorraine. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing those messages. And it's so great to see you again. We've missed you.
I've missed you guys. I've been working on my book, and I was out of town, and it's just been busy, but I've been watching the recordings and sending love to all of you guys. So,
Hava, do you want to speak?
I have a question. 4 or 5 years ago, people I know but are not on the same journey that I am just kept comparing this time to the rise of Nazi Germany and all sorts of things, dictatorships in various and sundry places in South America. And my sense is that that's not where we're going. My very clear sense is that not where we're going. I don't know where we are going, but that's my clear sense. And I just heard from someone else about timeline jumping. And I think that I have a sense of what that is, but I don't really understand it. So can you or can anybody else help me with that, please? Thank you.
Thanks. I agree with you. I don't think that we're going to end up in another situation like Nazi Germany. I think that we have the gift of modern technology. We have access to information and people from all over the world, like this group, that we've never been able to have before. And I don't think that that kind of behavior will be tolerated by the masses. I think we're too aware now and too conscious of the impact of that kind of experience. And I think that we don't need it. How many times do we have to play that game for us to get it that actually it doesn't work? And it just causes more pain and more trauma and more suffering that just gets passed on into the generations. With regards to timeline jumping, there was a lot of that in the last few years. And what I was shown is that we have a destiny path, and that is the highest and best timeline for our human experience. And the more we activate our soul within us, the more we embody our soul essence and energy within us, the more we line up with that destiny timeline. If, however, we don't embody the full energy or essence of our soul, there are other potential timelines that we can live out or live through. And it's also why it's very difficult to predict the future, particularly now, because there are so many potentials and there's so many opportunities. And as we have one reality that is collapsing and another reality that is being birthed, these timelines are interconnected between the two. And so people are crossing them between the old and the new all the time. What we are ultimately wanting to be doing is moving from the old and stepping into the new and staying there, not keep going backwards and forwards across the bridge. It's about choosing to step there and to stay there. But from my understanding, that new reality holds a particular vibration. So if we step into it and we are carrying anything within us that is of a lower vibration or a heavier vibration, we are then moved out of that energy and allowed the space to clear, heal, and release that, and then able to step back. So the less so the more we heal, the more we clear, the more we release, the less we're doing this backwards and forwards between the old and the new, and we're able to step in. And for me, that is the timeline jumping. Because every time we clear something, we open up another timeline, a higher vibrational timeline. But ultimately what we're wanting to do is to step into that destiny timeline that is our soul's line on this earth. But it needs to be a fully embodied experience. And until we get there, we're going to be hopping around a little bit. What I've been told is that 2022 will be quite a stabilizing year, and I'm not sure if that's just because it's 2 4s and that equal an 8, whether it's the numerology of the year or what it is, but there's definitely a stabilizing energy. And when I see 4 numbers like that, I always think of the 4 bodies. So you've got the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. And if we link a 4 to each one of those bodies, 4 is a very stabilizing force. So my sense is that from 2022, things will become a lot more stable, particularly in that timeline jumping scenario. Does that make sense or answer your question?
Yes, in many ways it does. Thank you. And I appreciate the image of we can get on, but we don't have to go all the way back to the other timeline. I also think that the person was talking about, and I'm so grateful that I did not have to live in that fear that other people were living in because of the support of many people, like all the people here. I really appreciate that. So yes, thank you for clarifying my personal part of the journey. But I also was hearing the other person say, and it was a recorded session, so I couldn't ask a question, that we all of us could collectively timeline jump, and that was really confusing to me. So
that for me is that moving from one reality to the next reality. So there are some people who, you know, it's a bit like choosing to take on the collective stuff and processing that through ourselves. Same foolish idea. There are some people who are moving across this bridge and bringing back people into the new reality. So it's that kind of mass awakenings, you know, a bit like what we're going to be heading into in the next 4 months. You know, it's literally getting a whole lot of them and saying, okay, well, you need to move over, flinging them over that bridge into the new reality, which will trigger everything for them. They'll then be moved out of that space to be able to heal and to clear what they need to be cleared, and then they'll go, you know, they'll do that backwards and forwards a bit. And I think, you know, there are different levels and there are different layers. Some people are more ahead in the process than others. You know, there are many of us that have been doing this work for 30, 20, 30 years. You know, we're a bit like old hats and sometimes a little cynical about it all. But there are other people that are just starting the journey, and you know, it's up to us to be able to kind of shine the light and say it's that way, and you know, to give them the encouragement and the hope, because it is important. And I know from my own personal experience, you know, my brother became incredibly afraid, not necessarily for himself, but for his family and his friends around what was happening. And he got really sucked into all the conspiracies and all of that QAnon stuff and whatever. And it really did create a break in him, that you know, helped to take him to the point where he took his own life. So, you know, there are incredibly challenging places that people go through and go into when they are going through this awakening. So we do need to be conscious of that and careful. I know there are times that I can be quite flippant about things just because I get it, I understand it, I've lived through it, I lived with it, and I'm on the other side of it. But there is a part of me that recognizes and realizes we do need to be very careful, and aware of the kinds of support that people need. And that's often why hopping onto a soapbox is not necessarily a good idea, because we're not meeting the person where they're at. We need to meet each person where they are at, not try and convert the masses. Sorry, Megan.
Just on that note, Kate, just to say, it's funny, I've sort of almost wrapped up the three things that you're talking about, because last week I was going through my big moment of want to be a hermit and I'm going to stay there and have no friends and that's it. Nothing in common with the rest of the world. Well, I did actually massage the old social gene, whoever suggested it, I did it. And I organized a load of things. So actually this weekend, I went and had lunch with friends yesterday. I had a brunch today, niece has been in or whatever, but I've been socially making the effort. But what's been quite surprising is, firstly, the people that I've met who I thought would be the same have actually shifted a little bit. And it's interesting that they've probably got a little bit more sense of fear and, as you're saying, pessimism towards what's happening. But it's been interesting of being able to drop in a few things about how I've dealt with it, because I'm feeling so much better and they can see the difference. That for the first time, rather than dismiss it, they've actually taken on board a few things because they're willing to listen, because they don't like where they're at. But it's only because I've almost lived through it, done it and changed a bit, that they're now taking on board. So I don't have to be on a soapbox. It could be something that they're willing to hear the odd snippet, because I say, well, how have you stayed so calm? Why are you not stressed by this? And why aren't you angry with so-and-so? And why don't you want to go and kill whatever? And I'm so calm about it that I say, well, actually it's, you know, whether it's meditation, energy work, believing in something else or whatever it is, usually they would completely dismiss it, but they've had to take it on board because they've seen the difference. So it's been quite interesting from me doing that, and also seeing a slightly different side of friends where they're a little bit more genuine, because they are questioning now rather than staying in that superficial level of just going party. So it's been quite interesting to see all three of them combine, just from me making the effort to go out. And then I also feel that I've made a bit of a difference to somebody else by doing it as well, which is, it was an interesting weekend, which I've enjoyed. And I didn't get flustered. You know, I actually cooked. I don't cook. But, you know, I was calm and had people around, and it just didn't bother me. Whereas it would have done before, I would have got in a state about it and I wanted everything to be perfect. But it was more about the social interaction, the conversation, which, you know, was good fun. So it was, yeah, it was a learning curve that worked. So
fantastic. Well done, Fiona. That's brilliant. And I think that, you know, I think we maybe forget that people have changed. I mean, you know, we've all changed. I mean, there's been dramatic shifts and changes for some of us in the last year. So how can we expect other people not to have? And I think that there is a lot of questioning that is happening. And if we can embody, you know, the hope and the change that we've gone through, and show that through our presence and our actions and our words and how we handle things, I mean, you know, we do get to create some quite profound changes in people. Well done.
Fiona, it's okay. I won't get on the soapbox. Katie's making sure I don't do that. I've been threatening to get on it for 4 years now. Kate, just on the timeline, and you brought in the word destiny there as well, and the various destinies that are available. If you sort of on a particular path and you meet someone else, could it be that your destiny is suddenly radically changed? Like you say, the kicking of the timelines, destiny, I'm going in this direction, I get kicked onto another thing. Is that possible? Does it happen? Should it happen?
Yes, it does happen. Should it happen? I don't know. It could be that, I don't like to use the word tested, but I can't think of another one. And I think that along this destiny line, we are tested in our commitment and the courage and the strength that we have to continue and to follow this path, because it is hard. It's not easy to embody your soul in a physical vehicle and then put up with the world as it is. It's difficult and it's challenging, and it can be hard because there are things in our lives that we then have to give up, that perhaps we're not ready to give up, or we don't want to give up, or our ego has more of a hold on us than we initially anticipated, or even our soul initially anticipated. So as a result of something like that, we can be a little bit diverted off that path and maybe, have to do a little bit of a loop and go through some sort of experience that gets us back onto that timeline.
Kate, I've heard it described as frequencies and consciousness, and would love your thoughts on that viewpoint on timelines. It's in that the sense that, everything's energy and our frequencies can be higher or lower. And so at the higher frequencies get us into higher dimensional realities. And so in a way, the timelines are moving back and forth between frequencies, so if we meet someone and we're in a really high frequency and they're not, there is the opportunity for our frequency to affect them, and that might help them shift, or vice versa. We can also go shift backwards. But just curious your thoughts about that, because it was easier for me to grasp the idea of consciousness frequencies elevating and lowering versus actual, timelines feel science fiction-ish to me. But from a frequency standpoint, I can see that, wow, when it's higher and I can feel it's higher, just like Fiona, you were talking about, you were in a higher frequency than your friends, and they could feel it. And then they want to get there because they're like, wow, that feels really good. And that we can shift that way. So anyway, I'm just curious about your thoughts on that.
I think that is, it is a frequency shift, and each timeline holds a particular level of frequency or consciousness or awareness and energy. And I think it's, if we look at the essence of our soul, that is possibly the highest frequency that we can reach. And so, when we're in contact with our soul, when we are working to embody our soul, we are lifting our frequency and therefore aligning with that timeline or that energy stream. Maybe timeline is not necessarily the right word, but energy stream of consciousness that our soul vibrates at. And you're right, we when we engage with someone who's at a, and I don't see it as being levels like that. I see it as being expanding circles of consciousness. So you've got some people that are, their consciousness is this big, and then you've got others that are that big, and we move between this and that and this and that, and it's that kind of movement. Ultimately, we want to be in the expanded space, the greater circle. We don't necessarily want to be confined to that circle any longer. And we get to choose when we're engaging with people, are you going to allow, and this is where being aware and conscious is so important, because when we're engaging with people, you know, we can take on the fear of that other person or the concerns of that other person, and therefore, you know, constrict our consciousness, which then drops our frequency, and we start to vibrate at a lower frequency, and then we have to do the work that we need to do to expand back into that space that is more expanded. And I think, you know, any one of you, I'm sure, have had those experiences where if I go into a large crowd of people, I've gotten better at it the more I've learned to manage my own energy. But in the past, if I went into a large group of people, I'd have to come home and sleep for days to recover from that, because that energy, I didn't have the strength to be able to hold that expanded state or that higher frequency of energy in such a large group of lower frequency energies. So yeah, I agree with you. Faith's written, my mantra is, it's their deal and has nothing to do with me. This enables me to stay out of fear and anger by not internalizing. Yep. Not my monkeys, not my circus.
I think on that note as well, Kate, where you will say to us, you know, keep out of the drama. I'm amazed now that if I'm, I don't know, telling a story about something that's happened, and there've been a few dramatic things happened over the year, you know, everybody's going, oh my God, you know, isn't that awful? And I'm just telling it as a story. It's actually not that tragic and it's not that bad, but it's the reaction and the response is something like, let's get into the drama and have a kind of gossip about it. And I'm almost like, well, no, that's just fact. Done it, been there, it's over. And I've not noticed that so much in people before, but maybe because I was so caught up in the drama myself, you kind of join in, and it's really rather nice to sit there. But I am thinking, how do they lead their lives in so much stress and everything going on is amplified, I suppose. It's just funny being on the other side. I'm not being smug, but it's just quite interesting to see it.
No,
I like that all the time, you know.
I think it's also I grew up in a family that loves drama. And for those of you who don't know yet, M is actually my cousin, so he's busy making faces because he understands the drama that our family still loves. And so we grew up in, and it's a big family, and you know, my cousins, I've got lots of boy cousins, and they're all a bit like brothers to me. And I remember in my 20s suddenly realizing how much drama there was, and there was always a drama, and if there wasn't one, someone would make one, because we had to have something to talk about. We had to have something that was exciting, something that was happening, someone that was messing up their lives. I think I became the subject of a few dramas for a long time. Yeah, Matt did too. And then I remember realizing that actually I didn't really want to live like that anymore. It was exhausting, and it was draining and incredibly negative. And I made a conscious choice to step out of the drama, to say I'm not engaging with it any longer. And after a few months of not engaging with the drama, I realized how incredibly bored I was. And I suddenly thought there had to be something that I had to channel all this energy that I was so used to channeling into dramas. I had to channel it into something else, because otherwise I was going to be sucked into all those dramas again. And I think that's, you know, I've observed a lot of people that enjoy drama, and it's what helps to feed their energy. It gets them excited, it gets them motivated, it gives them something to do, because if you're not focused on the external, where's your focus going to be? On the internal. And most people don't want to go inside because it's incredibly difficult to face that stuff and painful. So that's generally why, you know, there's a lot of distraction with drama. Keep us from tapping into ourselves.
Kate, just on that, with what Fiona was saying there, I've found in the last little while that there's a sense of detachment to everything that's going on around me. Not that I'm not connected, but detachment, connection, and it's an oxymoron going on here. Still caring, still compassionate, but detached from, as Fiona said, it's happened, it's done, it's gone, or it's happening now, just now, it won't be here anymore. And I found that that's been helping me energetically stay pumped. As you say, you're not allowing the drama to, not going into it, but not ignoring it either. You know, no, I'm not expressing that very well. I'll work on it.
Or
Right.
bring
I was going to say, Megan, I think I know what you're talking about, because I think for a while I was completely not paying attention to anything in the news, and because I just was focusing on internal growth. And so I was really detached. And now all of a sudden I'm feeling more of the pull. And I think it's more from my guides to to see it all a little bit more, so that you can engage in conversation a little bit, but then go back to what we've been talking about. And what you were talking about is be able to engage, but do it from a place of love and compassion, and just share that light when people are scared and afraid, or they're caught up in that drama. This is just help them step back and look at it differently. So.
Actually, I read somewhere on Facebook this week, apparently there was some guy who's been living off the grid for, I don't know, the last 2 years. And he walked into a grocery store with no mask and started shouting, "Please, someone tell me what's going on." I thought that was really funny.
Okay, I'm going to jump in very quickly because I haven't seen you for a little while, but it's lovely to see everyone. And I was going to share with the group that my shift has been extraordinary, because in the past decades, I've been that person who, if someone's got a problem, I rush to help absolutely everyone. And I just want to make everything right for absolutely everyone in my life who I love. But the interesting shift for me, and I don't know whether it's lockdown or what we've been through or the work we've done, is that I've come to realize that people have to live with their own decisions, and that they're nothing to do with me. So whilst you can be empathetic and you can be sympathetic and you can be kind and compassionate and caring, ultimately, people make some pretty awful decisions. And you wouldn't make those decisions, but you can't help your friends for having made the wrong ones. But you have to stand back and just go, not, I'm really sorry you made that decision because it was a terrible one to make. But, okay, well, this is where you are. Are you okay with living with that decision? How can I support you here on in? Because they have to have reached some kind of peace with that decision-making process, which is nothing to do with me and not a decision I would have made.
Thanks for that, Natascha. I think it's also important to just make a note that we don't always know someone else's journey or someone else's path or someone else's lessons that they are needing to make. So when we look at a decision that they take and the consequences of that, we can think, oh, that looks like a rough one. But it might be exactly what is needed for them. As humans, we're pretty stupid sometimes. We only seem to learn from pain and suffering. We can start to learn from ease and grace. I think we will have evolved quite significantly. Wait, we can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I was saying it sounds like I always make the right decisions, but it's quite difficult seeing somebody go through pain. You kind of go, oh my God. And you don't always have the right answers. You just have to be guided. You're right, because you never, ever know what battles other people are going through.
Yeah, I mean, I've also had to learn that hard lesson of wanting to help everyone and fix it and make the pain go away. And sometimes you've just got to let them sit with it.
Interestingly, Kate, a little while ago, you said to us about having opinions on things, and obviously you've got clarity beyond most, and you can see an awful lot, that you realized that it wasn't your place necessarily, and you had to step back. And it's funny how, you know, I am opinionated, or I used to be, and I would always have an opinion, like you're saying, Natascha, of, you know, trying to help friends because you get clarity when you see it from the other side, especially about raising children. I've had none of my own, but you could just see from the outside how they were getting it all wrong. So I would usually express an opinion, but you kind of knew that I was the sort of person that someone would come to for a chat like that anyway. But I have now learned the lesson of I won't give an opinion unless someone specifically asks. So I have learned to breathe, bite my tongue, and just wait. And if they don't ask, and it's amazing, Natascha, how it frees up so much of your time, because instead of spending all your time trying to work out everybody else's problems, as you're saying, Kate, well, we can spend a little bit of time trying to work out our own. But it was a big shift for me to do that, to actually, you know, shut up and just want to tell them, because you think, how can you be so stupid? But equally, I don't know if that makes us very arrogant, or it's our ego that's getting in the way that we think we can fix everything. I think it comes from a nice, compassionate place if you want to help. But yeah, it took an awful lot to just breathe and say, unless you're actually asked, stay stum. But it's worked, and it's amazing how many people now do actually ask rather than me having to blurt something out.
And then at least, you know, if they've asked, they potentially are going to listen. It's incredibly frustrating to give advice and then they go off and do exactly what you've told them not to do. So it's a bit like having children.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Nancy.
So I would challenge that if you all look at your life and the things that have just laid you under, from pain and sadness and whatever, that you'll also see that those events were the most life-changing things and put you in a direction oftentimes that I don't know that, I'll put it back just to me. Believe me, I've had times that would just make me curl up on the floor in a fetal position, literally. You know, so I think, of course, we love people and we don't want them to make mistakes, but then, you know, could you have listened? God knows people probably tried to get me to avoid the stuff that I walked headlong into. And, you know, so that's part of it. And Megan, I understood what you said about feeling detached. My favorite saying is also not my monkey's not my circus, but and I say it a lot, but I've noticed that since I've been working at home, the college I work at is a relatively small, about 1,000, 1,200 students and, you know, whatever. And when I was on campus, the drama that went on day to day from faculty and staff and everything, that I'm just a couple steps removed from being here. I mean, we still, you know, I hear about stuff, but so it's not caring, I think, Megan, like you said, if you do care, but if you're in the middle of the soup, it's kind of hard to keep any kind of perspective on it. And so sometimes the best way to do it is to be the observer, and when I am the observer, I look at some of the stuff that goes on and just go, holy mackerel. You know, people do, and I learned this when I got sober, which was a long time ago, but people thrive on chaos. I mean, they literally, intentionally or not, create chaos in their lives. I say intentionally, but because it's what they thrive on. If they don't have chaos, their life's kind of boring, you know, and so you watch them and you just go, when you can step back a few steps and you just go, seriously, how do you have the energy? Which I still don't have a lot of energy. So Kate, when you're done with all your tasks, feel free to drop by and do a few of mine. but anyway, so, and I wondered, just throw this out. My sleep patterns have been horrendous the last few weeks. Not that I'm a great sleeper anyway, but I wondered if anybody else, and dreams really vivid. I always dream, but I wake up sometimes and go, really? So I wonder if anybody else is having sleep issues.
Well, Nancy, you'll be happy to know that I managed to do 2 loads of laundry this weekend. I'll happily pop past and help you. But getting back to your question about the sleep, I've also, my sleep has been really weird. The other night I was awake at 3:30 in the morning and wide awake, not even, like waking up and thinking, oh, I'm awake, but I want to go back to sleep. Wide awake to the point where I actually got up, got my computer and started doing some work. And I'm also finding that I'm not needing as much sleep as I have in the past, which is interesting. And then there are nights where, I'm getting 8.5 hours of sleep, which is, so there doesn't seem to be any rhythm or any routine. It's just, let's see what tonight holds. So.
Just to pop in here, Nancy, I sleep really, really badly. If I get 2 hours and then I wake up and then I go back to sleep, wake up, if I get 4 hours, it's a miracle. 6 hours, unheard of. So when people talk about 8 hours, I just think, how does anybody do that? But what's been quite interesting is that when I've had more active days, it sounds so obvious, but if actually I've done a lot more and I've gone to bed, I have found myself at least sleeping a little bit deeper within the hours that I do get. And it's just that activity that physically makes you a bit more tired, so that you sleep a bit more. But I felt really tired this week, really struggled with it. But I've gone with it, Kate, like you said. If I felt really tired in the afternoon and there's nobody here, then I'll go and lie on my bed and go comatose for half an hour. And then I'll be so full back on it. Then I'll work in the evening, realizing I should stop. But it's a really heavy sleep, although I just can't keep my eyes open. It's a really odd. But activity, Nancy. So you'll have to go fight with your neighbor, wander out the door or do something. And then, how's that going, by the way?
I can't hear you.
There we go. You know what? I told him he was very sorry about the glass. I'm like, but by the time I spoke to him about it, it's like, you can't bring it back. It's not replaceable because they were one-of-a-kind pieces and whatever. So it all seems to have stalled. I suspect he went partway into this project and doesn't have the time, money, or something to move forward. So whatever. I just went, whatever. But again, I too am getting out a little bit more. I actually went to my first party yesterday. I went to a graduation party outside, but I was around more people than I've been around, and it's really, really hot here this weekend, like 90 degrees. We don't do anything in moderation here, but it was nice. And I also saw a friend of mine we've been friends since I was 22, who happened to be flying through Boston, and so we're kind of getting ready to take our masks off here, supposedly, and open way. They kind of jumped from nothing to throwing everything wide open here. And in Massachusetts has actually been pretty conservative compared to some of the other states. So for us to back to full capacity, back to inside dining, back to, in about a few days from now, actually. So that's been interesting to watch people's reactions to that and stuff. So interesting times, but thank you, Fiona, because I totally agree. I have been so inactive during all of this that I tried to get out and go for a walk yesterday, and I won't tell you how pathetic it was. Like, okay.
I got as far On that note though, Nancy, I got as far as the coffee shop to go and get something. I can't remember, something very simple, and they make homemade chocolate ice cream. So I bought a tub to give to my guests for lunch today. It literally, I got back from the shop, I went to just taste it, and the rest of it was history. So my walk was to the cafeteria place, bought the chocolate ice cream, and then ate the lot. And I did actually have the nerve to apologize to my guests today, saying you were going to have chocolate ice cream, but I ate the lot. So I think you're fine. You're in good company.
Even I would walk to the ice cream shop.
I certainly wouldn't have admitted to eating the whole tub of ice cream to my guests. So kept that one
I
to
was
myself.
thinking the same thing,
Okay,
but I would have done it, Fiona. So I would have done it. I just wouldn't have admitted it.
Yeah, I would have done it too, but not said a word.
yeah. Okay, just on the sleep issue, I can't actually join on that conversation because I don't normally battle with sleep. Not a problem that I've ever had. But Brenda asked a question about maintaining your frequency. When you're chopping and changing between frequencies, would your sleep have anything to do with that? Yeah, if you're missing sleep,
Yeah. So I mean, if you're not getting enough rest, if your physical body is tired, it's hard to keep your energy levels up. It's hard to keep your frequency high. And I think that it is important that you find ways to kind of top it up. I always look at it like a bit like a gas tank in a petrol in a car. You know, you start you hopefully start your day with a full tank, and you want to try and keep it as full as possible as you move through your day. So if you're finding that you're engaging in situations or with people or in places that are draining your tank, you need to then do something to fill it up. You never really want to get to empty, because then that means, you know, a bit like me in the middle of this week where I had to go and spend a few hours in my bed just to recover. And that's, you know, that's not a good place to be, because you know, with that drop in energy, you start to feel bad, and emotionally and mentally and physically you don't feel good. So you ultimately want to start doing things that keep your energy levels high, your tank full. And those sort of things can be anything from going outside and taking a few deep breaths, really working with your breath to energize your body. You know, Brenda's the one that introduced me to Kundalini yoga. So Bren, fire breath is one of the things that we can do, and literally, you know, do it for a minute or two. You don't have to do like a whole yoga session or a whole kriya. You just have to do that fire breath, and that can be an instant increase in oxygen into the body, and therefore an increase in our energy levels. Going outside, sitting outside. There's one exercise that I can't even remember where or how I discovered it. But if the sun is shining, to step outside, put your face to the sun, close your eyes, making sure that the sun is shining directly onto your forehead, and you just breathe in that light, and you breathe in the energy of the sun, and visualize it moving into all the different parts of your body and then out into your energy field. And again, that can be, you know, a 2-minute thing. It doesn't have to be a long process, and it can be something that just helps to increase the levels in the tank. Yeah, Brenda's just mentioned it may also be not being used to peopling so much. Definitely. I think we've got to do it in small doses.
And grounding, I know that so as far as the tiredness issue goes, last week, Sunday to Wednesday, I had an incredible time sleeping, and it was weird because it was almost like my body was vibrating. Like I couldn't calm my system down no matter how much meditation I did. But I think I was clearing some things, and I was also, I guess I was taking in a lot of new energy. You know, there's all kinds of things going on with the energy. So, you know, I just really went back to more intense grounding. where I just, pulled light in and then grounded it in the earth and just sat with it and let it kind of like it fills up here in your heart center. And that, and if I do that in the morning, that helps me because I've been out and about all week, last week, around a lot of people, a lot of fear energy, and it does affect you. And then I wasn't taking time to clear it out of my system. And then I tried to go to sleep and it wouldn't work. So by Thursday, I had gotten into a better rhythm of grounding in the morning and taking enough time to do it well. And that really helped me, and then started sleeping again. So anyway, if that helps anyone with, there's we're absorbing a lot of energy from other people that are kind of in those fear energies. And it does pull you down if you don't take time to, like Kate said, I like that, fill your tank back up. But that's how that helped me this week. So.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Grounding is essential now. I mean, more than anything else. And in fact, I also had that vibrating thing going on from Sunday to Wednesday. And Wednesday, I actually, in the middle of the day, went and lay down because I actually couldn't keep my eyes open. And when I closed my eyes, I just had these images of these lights just shooting at me. And I kind of watched it for a bit and thought, this is interesting. I wonder what's going on. And then suddenly there was just this massive explosion of like yellow gold light. And I read somewhere that there was a solar flare at that time on Wednesday, which was obviously what I was picking up on. And I was like, okay, so that's what a solar flare looks like. So I think there's been a lot of energy that's being put through our systems from the solar flares that are happening, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. Fiona says Wednesday was the day she had to go to bed. Yeah, I just couldn't keep my eyes open, and I had one of those coma naps where the world could end and I wouldn't wake up. They're quite nice, those.
At least you didn't pop over to Nancy's and break stuff.
Exactly. Don't blame me for the broken glass now. That was the neighbor. I just happened to be visiting at the time it happened and got a huge fright myself.
Yeah, I don't blame you, Kate. I think it was actually kind of comforting to know you were there sharing it, because it was pretty traumatizing.
Yeah, it was pretty loud, to say. Lorraine's also, I could barely move my limbs on Wednesday. Felt like my body was pushing through sand to move. Yeah. And then Thursday, it just shifted. Yeah. Thank God. Oh, Natascha says, I'm so envious, Kate. I'm lucky if I get 2 hours max at a stretch. I feel like I'm awake all the time. I know that feeling. It's horrible. It's horrible. It might be worth, as Lorraine says, focusing on doing some grounding exercises, maybe even before you go to bed, and see if that helps. And also magnesium. Can't stress magnesium enough. It is so important, especially when there are huge downloads of energy coming through. Our bodies, stupidly enough, seem to constrict as the energy hits. It's almost like we don't know what's coming in, and so we tense and tighten up, and we forget to relax into it. And because the energies are new, it's not something that we're familiar with or we know, so again we unconsciously tense up and constrict, and our muscles become quite tight. And magnesium is definitely something, I mean, I'm taking 4 times the dose that it says on the bottle. So if it says, take 1 tablet at night, I'm taking 4. And I take them before bed. And the other thing that I've discovered that is really helpful is melatonin. So if you can get some of that, It also just helps the nervous system to calm down, because we can get really wired with all of this energy going on. Yeah, I've also got the magnesium spray, but those tablets just I can't spray enough on me. I need it. If I could drink the bottle, I would. Okay.
I added magnesium, but I think I'll try a little more because it helped some, but maybe twice a day instead of like in the morning and the evening or something.
Well, if you take it at night, it does help you to relax so that you can sleep. So that's why if you take the double dose at night, then you should be good. The other thing that I was told, which was a really good tip, was potassium. So if you're struggling from muscle cramps or stiffness in your muscles, potassium as well. So I mean, I'm taking potassium and magnesium. Also high doses of vitamin C. I'm also taking about 2,000 mgs of vitamin C at night. Again, because vitamin C also helps you sleep. Anything to help me sleep.
And melatonin also helps regulate our hormones. Melatonin is a hormone, so it helps all the other hormones too. And Epsom salts is pure magnesium. And if you I just empty an entire bag into my tub and hop in. So, because my muscles really need it.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, I definitely struggle with muscle cramps and stiffness and okay.
Thank you for that, Hava. I've got loads in my cupboard and I've had sore muscles and I'm not sleeping well. So it's all going in tonight. You know how it works.
Okay, any other questions or anything else that anyone would like to share, and then we can move on to our meditation? No. Good, everyone's ready then. All right, so when you're ready, just get settled into your seat and into your space. And gently closing your eyes. Just draw your awareness down and into your breath. And just allow yourself to focus on your breath, the inhale and the exhale. And through the breath, allowing yourself to relax and to let go. Allow yourself to settle into this moment and into this time. Settle into the comfort of your physical form. And allow yourself to focus on any areas in your body that are holding tension, that are feeling tight and stressed, and just draw your breath into that space. Often the areas of tension can be the stomach, the shoulders, the neck, the jaw. Just consciously relaxing those spaces and those areas in your body. And allow yourself to feel what it feels like to let go and to surrender into this moment. Now drawing your awareness to the top of your head, to your crown. And through this space, allow yourself to connect to the divine, to the source energy. And begin to feel or sense or imagine this energy spiraling down from the heavens and moving into the crown. Feeling it moving down your face, your neck, your throat, down your chest, all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And feeling this energy moving out of the soles of your feet and connecting to the earth, moving deep into the earth. Helping to root and stabilize you. And really allow yourself to be anchored to the earth and fully present in your physical form. Allowing this divine energy to move through you and out of you and into the planet. And you might see this energy as a thin white light. It gently begins to expand until you are completely encased in a column of light. This light is moving through your body and all around your body. And just allow it to cleanse, to clear, and to wash away whatever is no longer needed at this time. Be that thoughts or emotions or feelings, memories or energy. Feel it washing through your body and system, through your energy field. And as a result, feel yourself becoming more and more stable, grounded, and present. Feel your heart center opening and expanding. And currently, there's one thing that your soul needs you to know as we move towards the full moon eclipse. Allow this insight to emerge from within you now. It may come as a feeling or a word, an image or a picture, or even just a sense. And now allow yourself to sense and feel the others in this group around you. Feel or see us standing together in a circle. And as our light touches each other, the light within us is amplified and expanded. Feel the strength that moves through this group. The love, the light, the courage, and the support. And feel that flowing into you and giving you courage and strength. Recognizing that you are no longer alone. And that there are others on this path with you. And feel the light from our group beginning to expand outwards into the room that we're in, out and into the buildings that we're in. outwards and into the neighborhoods, to the cities. Feel that light connecting all of us and flooding the planet. Feel it growing stronger. And feel yourself becoming more and more stable within it. And with this stability and this support, you allow yourself to sink into yourself. To settle into your body. Moving back into the space where you are. And taking a deep breath. Just breathing yourself back into the space and into this time, breathing in that light, that support, that love, that connection. Breathing in the strength and the courage. Feeling yourself rooted and connected to the earth. And when you're ready, moving your fingers and your toes. And opening your eyes when you're ready. Thank you for that, everyone. Sure, it was beautiful. And I hope you got some clarity from your soul and felt the connection and the love and the strength that makes this group so special. Thank you.
I think I've got to listen to that one again because I went so far out.
You forgot to come back.
I didn't know we were coming back for the first time until you just said that.
It's quite interesting, Kate. I got a very clear message about making sure I've peeled all the layers and that I really got rid of the patterns and the baggage. It was quite interesting. I sort of literally saw myself as this kind of onion, literally just unfolding, which, how many days have I got? 3.
3 days, oh yes, till the full moon. Yeah. Hopefully this, I mean, it felt really, really strong and stable. I certainly felt very connected to my body and really rooted. So I'm sure that this energy will carry us through the next few days and through the eclipse and onwards. Anita says she felt an amazing sense of eternity when we were all in a circle. The sense I got through the week too. Yeah, that's beautiful. Leonie's mentioned we envelop the earth in brilliant light, so strong together. Yep. Oh, Brenda, and a message to trust our knowing. Yes, so important, because we do know. Just got to learn to trust ourselves and believe it. Yeah, trust that all is well, even if it doesn't look like it.
It's interesting, actually. I'm just going to bring Kathy on this. Thank you for all your messages this week, Kathy. But one of the things about your knowing of where at one point I was describing something about my sister and how lost she is and how deluded she is and how her wires are so crossed. And it was quite interesting. Kathy said, read your words, because with all my self-doubt last week, I just suddenly realized how my wires were actually very crossed. I was describing somebody else. And then when you actually reflect back, and it's probably more challenging to see it when you suddenly realize it's a reflection of yourself as well. So no, it was interesting, but I think I've shifted. So hopefully by the time the eclipse arrives, all will be well.
Well, it definitely, you definitely have shifted. Look what the weekend, what kind of weekend you've had, and what you've seen and what you've observed, and your chocolate ice cream would have helped.
Well, I'm going to try the chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, no, I want chocolate ice cream too now. That's all I can think of. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. As always, it's such a privilege to be with you all and to share with you all. So thank you so much. I love you all and appreciate you all, and look forward to seeing you next week. Lots of love. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you, Hava. Enjoy the eclipse if you can.